And the CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele has appealed to citizens to be calm in the face of the current economic hardships following the redesign of the Naira note. He held a press conference in Lagos where he stated that the policy has recorded an over 80% success rate. He adds that the new notes are more than enough for all and there's no need for panic withdrawal or hoarding. He also says the commercial banks have been instructed to make the new notes available to everyone.
We are looking at areas where there is pressure, and we are doing everything possible to address those areas of pressure. And I mean, we've had cases where in some areas, some bank branches had some cash in their vaults because there was no demand for them. Because 896 billion naira is not issued by central bank into circulation in a day, that does not mean that there isn't adequate supply of currency in the market, in circulation. What we are only saying, and we have to admit it, that at this initial stage of the issues and circulation, we can't put 896 billion in one day into circulation. So that is the reason that we said, unfortunately, we do see that there will be some transient or temporary pains, but that we appeal, we are begging, we are on our knees begging people to please show understanding. They should be calm. They should be calm. In our meetings with the banks, we have told them, set up tents and chairs, give people numbers of 3.23 trillion naira in circulation. At least 2.7 trillion naira is hidden in people's homes. It does not augur well for the economy. It does not augur well for the growth of the Nigerian economy. It does not augur well for macroeconomic policy decisions that we take at the CBN. And that is the reason we're appealing that please, please, and please, we understand the pain. I have received several calls myself. Some members of my family themselves have complained. That we all have to just please show some understanding. It does not mean that when you go and you queue and it doesn't get to you, that you now begin to descend to wanton destruction of bank properties. Those bank properties are meant to serve you. This is where you have decided that you have trust in this institution. You have decided to entrust your own money with them. At this time that we're facing this temporary and transient situation, we crave everybody's understanding. Please be calm. We are monitoring all the situations on 24/7, both the cash channels and the electronic channels. You have had calls to call some banks, or they said your system is down here, and usually you will find that we can't run away from the fact that bank electronic channels will sometimes have downtime. And when we call them, I called the bank this afternoon, and within 20 to 30 minutes, they restored it. It does not mean that it does not work. I understand the agitation, but I am appealing in God's name, that please, let's be calm. Let's take this easy. I might as well address the petrol station. Oh, he said, okay, he will normally accept the POS. I will appeal to the petrol station, continue to accept your POS. You will get your money. If you are getting your money account credited instant, it's possible that because of deluge of the volume that they've had to wait, that it does not mean you will not get your money. You will get your money. You will get your account credited. If your account is not credited, you have a right to complain. And I'm sure those who know what we're doing in consumer protection know that we have always shown sympathy sympathy towards those customers that have complaints against their banks. We are committed to this. We just need your understanding. I'm not going to pretend it's a difficult time. This ambitious program. But if we have not done this for 19 years, what we are supposed to be doing in 5 to 8 years, we should expect that there will be a few hiccups, but to assure all of us that those hiccups are being addressed. Those who went to Twitter, she's already currently under ICPC. The lady who was spraying packs of money, we will find all of you. One of them we found yesterday. I think that one is also with ICPC or EFCC. With EFCC, they will go to jail. because you have broken the law. We will not allow you to create pain on Nigerians at this time when others are suffering. When you find them, please trace them, track them down to the bank official. Track them down to the central bank official. My hands are clean. I'm not going to be involved. Nobody should get themselves involved in colluding with anybody to be involved in giving money to people to go and spray at parties or go and be using multiple ATM cards to be involved in all this. It's a pain to all of us, but I can assure you that these people, either those held in Kano by the Nigerian police or EFCC in Lagos or in Abuja or ICPC, they will go to jail. We are going to monitor to ensure that they go to jail because they broke the law.
Godwin Emefiele, Nigeria's governor of the central bank, explaining copiously why Nigerians should be patient about the new Naira note and it being in circulation and the rest. But, well, we're now being joined by Arise News business anchor, Oddiri, who is in Lagos studios. It was at that briefing by Godwin Emefiele, of course, economist Paul Alaje, who is here with us here. Gentlemen, very warm welcome to Newsnight. But let me start with you, Rotus, because you were with the main man, the man at the center of all this. What's the main crux of the CBN governor's media briefs today that you would say would assuage all the pains, do I use the word tribulations, that Nigerians are going through? Rotus?
Yeah. Good evening, Christian. Good evening, Adeswa. Good evening to Paula. Look, I'm on my way there. I actually got a video of, on one side of the street, I was going through a Wall Road to get to where the press conference was taking place. There was a bank on my left where there was a line of people for Naira notes. On my right was a fuel station where there was a line of cars for fuel. So you got Naira scarcity on my left and fuel scarcity on my right. So when you talk about frustrations, they are very, very apparent. Now, the crux of what was discussed, as you've played in your clip there, was the central bank essentially appealing to people to please be patient. In fact, at some point, Godwin Emefiele sounded like a psychologist, where you're trying to appeal to people to get them to understand where you're coming from. You have to walk in their shoes. So he gave that example of his own family members calling him to complain about the situation. So him coming from a personal standpoint and him, trying to complete a transaction and it being delayed and him having to call a bank like any other person. So he tried to put himself in the shoes of people who are going through this, telling them that, look, I'm here as well. But there was, in addition to appeal, there was also a steadfast path to staying the course. This was a report there where the president said there's no going back. He echoed that there's no going back. There was a part of the press conference where someone asked him, will there be another extension? Because as you know, the feel from the governors, at least the ones that went to Aso Rock to visit with the president, was that they want this extended for another year. And Emefiele said, listen, I know I said last week, that was at the Monetary Policy Committee outcome where they raised the rates by another 100 basis points, that this wasn't going to move. We're not going to change our minds, and we did and extended it, but this time there is no extension. But he spent a majority of this press conference appealing to Nigerians to please understand. We understand that there's annoyance and frustration, but things will get better, and they're going to stay the course.
Well, Paul, I mean, CBN governor is appealing to Nigerians. He says we're on our knees. But let me ask you, one thing is clear. The old notes are turning up, but there's a problem, the supply of the new notes. Are you able to understand what's going on here?
Well, from the statement made by the central bank governor today and what he has said previously, approximately 2.1 trillion naira of old note has returned to central bank. And what we have in new note, if I can quote what he mentioned, and if it meant what I understand, about 870 billion naira, which he says that is going to be very difficult to put in the hands of people through the commercial bank. When we talk of cash, which is currency in circulation, to do that in a day or in a week, it may be very difficult. I agree with him. But what I have concern about is 2.1 trillion, when you compare that to less than ₦1 trillion, certainly there will be a lot of shortage. And that is what people are experiencing. And beyond the family of Mr. Emefiele calling him, we need to see that people are becoming aggressive. We have seen the video that trended today in the city of Ibadan, where people are becoming more violent. And that is why I really understand why I need to grant that press conference to quickly address Nigerians and to tell Nigerians that, yes, things might be difficult now, but they should exercise patience for another 7 days. And I hope the bank that sabotage, according to him, from what I could infer from his presentation, we turn a new leaf and we're going to start seeing this money for those that need it the most. We have, married women who wants to give their children some money to go to school. It's difficult for you to be inside what we call Keke Tricycle in Nigeria, and you want to do transfer to such person who might not have account. Even if it does, it might be very challenging to even accept such money in case transfer is not going. And I'm happy that the central bank governor have said even for him is having a lot of data. And I can tell you some banks are just very notorious with poor network. There's a particular bank in the last 4 days between Tuesday and close of business today, it's been difficult for them to do interbank transfer. So imagine people whose livelihood depends on that. For 4 days, no transaction has happened with that particular bank. It is very, very disturbing. And I hope that central bank, beyond persuading this bank, would also sanction, because these are people's sweat, people's investment. People need to live. If this policy must stay, something must be guaranteed. Even tomorrow, central bank must ensure that banks load all the ATM such that within the limit of the new law that says XYZ amount, I think about 100,000 or 500,000, that the central bank has made as law, people have access to their money. Why we want to control money supply to tame that inflation, people should not be thrown into abject poverty.
Yes, people indeed should not be thrown into abject poverty. The Herculean task or process of getting the new Naira note. But Rotus, let me come back to you. Why are we not having the 5 Naira, 10 Naira, 50 Naira, and 100 Naira notes? Those ones have not been withdrawn from circulation. They are still legal tenders. Did you ask the CBN governor why are banks not dispensing that?
Yeah, he was asked at the conference. In fact, there were bank MDs in person at the press conference today. So they were there as well. But then all the questions were going to him, and he pointed to the logistics issues. And he said, "Look, as far as trying to get that 850+ billion out, logistics are just not going to allow you to be able to do that effectively and as quickly as possible. I think the issue here is speed." Now, as far as the other notes that are still out there, as far as the transactions, you have to ask yourself, with inflation at 21.34% and prices rising where they are, what exactly can you buy with I can't remember the last time I even saw a 5 Naira or 10 Naira note. So I think we're pretty much starting from 100 Naira here, which has not been redesigned. It's 2, 5, and 1,000. So those are the currencies that the notes in particular that people are after. And the issue is, as far as Thursday was concerned, there was a directive given to the banks that they should dispense them using the tellers, that is actual physical bank tellers in the banks over the counter, because the ATMs, of course, we've seen what's been going on, that wasn't working. Unfortunately, the banks are not complying, and it was asked, are you going to sanction them? And he said, yes, if the banks don't comply, they will in fact be sanctioned. So I think the issue now is just the amount of time being given for this to filter through, because the directive was yesterday, Thursday. We've had today, with not all the banks are complying. We have to see if actions will be taken starting from Monday on both sides, whether or not the banks will start to comply to dispense over the counter to add to the supply with what's in the ATMs, and if they're not following through, whether sanctions will now be meted down. So the clock is ticking.
Paul Alaje, the CBN governor did make a point, and I wonder if that's justifiable. He talked about this is a policy we should have been doing every 5 years. It's coming almost 2 decades after the last one. Transition period and hiccups. Is it justifiable? And when the president says, give me 7 days, Nigerians, I will fix this, what can he do in 7 days?
Well, logistics making the fund available for people that need them. Central Bank have said we should promise. I want to believe Mr. Emefiele is not sleeping tonight. Is ensuring that flights are dispatching funds from Lagos to Kano to Port Harcourt, major cities and interior part of the nation. If that is not done between today and tomorrow, forget it. 7 days will be a failure automatically. And I hope that Mr. President, alongside Mr. Emefiele, even though you don't want to envy them right now, because the country is under pressure. And regarding the question that was asked to Reuters, why, in my own opinion, 50 naira, 20 naira, 10 naira notes are not being dispensed, it's a function of what those money can buy. And I'll tell you, the cost of printing 5 naira, 10 naira, 20 naira is very close to the money you are carrying. So imagine government is paying 10 naira to give you 50 naira. It's a lot of that's about 20%. So you may not see them the way you will see 1,000 and 200 naira, 500 naira. No, but that said, money is not money for the sake that we just want to have paper. First, there must be legal tender sanctioned by the National Assembly, signed by the National Assembly, approved and mentioned by Mr. President. Most importantly, what makes it money is our ability to accept. And I can tell you, coin, there is no law that says we cannot accept coin. But if you want to buy a vehicle for 1 million naira, say used Nigerian vehicle, and you have to pay those one naira coin, that means you will need somebody, you have to rent wheelbarrow to help you push the money. Then portability, which is one of the characteristics of money, is no longer in place. If you are to rent a house for 3 million naira, let's assume you are middle class or the rich in Abuja, and you would need to pay approximately 1.5 million, 3 million, and you have to pay 5 naira bill. You know that it will be a lot of it. So portability, which is one of the key characteristics of money, seems to be missing. Why? Because the more you devalue your currency and inflation keep catching your currency, the value of money in your pocket keep disappearing. And I think this is one of the major reasons why that may not be ubiquitous, because it's going to cost central bank more to save money of printing, which is minting and printing, to save money, and also to make money available to people as at when you. It's very important for us to know those high denominations, they play significant role within our economy.
Thanks so very much. Paul Alaje, right here in Abuja studios, is an economist and Arise News business anchor, Rotus Oddiri. Thanks, gentlemen, for being part of News Now.